Hey, greetings and felicitations, everyone. This is Bob Gums with the Concern Forum. Um, I usually don't do videos like this back to back, but I guess I've adopted some new habits since I moved over here from New York. By the way, once again, in case you don't know, I'm here in Kampala, Uganda. Having left New York about a month ago, and I'm trying to begin the show here in Africa. The show being the Concerned Forum, and the barking you hear in the background is the neighborhood guard dog. They're fairly security conscious over here. If I sound like I'm speaking ordinarily low, it's because I have my fiance's little niece here, and she's sleeping on a couch as her parents have been in an accident, unfortunately, automobile accident. They're fine, but my girl and me are kind of like looking out for her until she goes back to her folks. Now, what do I want to talk about? Well, I'll tell you the truth. I want to talk about a couple of things. Hell, I can't sleep anyway. It's almost 4 o'clock in the morning here in Kampala. And I tell you, I see so much things happening back home in America that I'm having a difficult time going to sleep. I see that everyone is all wound up now about this Jeffrey Epstein business. Well, look, you know, this really ticks me off, and I'll tell you why. The people who chose to vote for Trump, they made that decision, all right? If you live in the Northeast or the upper Midwest, you knew Donald Trump was a person of no character, but you chose him over Hillary in 2016. You chose him again over Kamala Harris um, just this past November. I hope you're satisfied. I hope that he has lived up to your expectations. He has definitely lived down to mine, and I think it's sad. Um, as far as the Epstein situation, listen, you have a taste of everything there. You have illicit sex with minors. You have involvement with the biggest security agencies in the West, CIA, Mossad, and it's a mess. It's a mess. I'm not going to get into the details, quite frankly, because it disgusts me. But we know at least 300 girls, many as young as 14, 13, were taken advantage of by men in positions of power, the so-called elite. And I don't see it as a Democratic thing. I don't see it as a Republican thing. And I think it's a shame. There are very, very good grounds to be suspicious. And I will be quite frank about it. I would be incredibly surprised if Donald Trump was not involved, knowing his background. Remember, I'm from New York, okay? And we know Donald, right? We know his pop, we know him, and we know what he's all about. But what's disturbing is that you had so many of these people from out there, down south and middle America. They didn't know a damn thing about this guy, except for the fact that he, again, I mean no disrespect, but I'm being honest there. They saw an almost elderly white guy, very rich, and let's face it, very biased. And they clung to him because of his biases. Donald made bigotry and sexism and religious fanaticism. He made that acceptable again in America. We were starting to grow up in this country, and along comes Trump and says, "Well, hey, it's okay to be bigoted. It's okay uh, to be what do they call it? Christian nationalist supremacists. It's okay to be misogynist towards women." And unfortunately, you have a lot of people in this country, uh, that kind of thing. I guess it makes them feel better about themselves and their lives. And that's one of the problems that America has had almost from its foundation. Um, Abe Lincoln, um, going as far back as Lincoln, he recognized that that was America's Achilles heel, right? Because someday some demagogue, right, some clown would come along and he would use the biases that people in America had. He would take those biases and he would use that for his own selfish purposes. And that's exactly what Trump did. And we are now facing the abyss. And I get the impression, and I don't give a damn if you call me paranoid or not, but I get the impression that what Trump is trying to do, he is purposely trying to orchestrate some type of um, ethnic and financial cataclysm in this country. I had that feeling when he first came on the national political scene in 2015. And everything I have seen him do from that time till now, it just confirms my opinion. And, you got a whole room full of Nobel Prize winning economists telling you that if you do such and such with tariffs, you're going to destroy the economy, you're going to destroy the value of the dollar, and yet he chooses to do it anyway. And then on top of that, he literally chooses to kill Americans. I don't know what else you can call it. Now, that might sound kind of drastic, but if I tell you that you do X and it will cause millions upon millions of your fellow citizens to lose their health care. What is health care? Health care in this country is what you need to go to the doctor if you're ill, right? um, so that you can either get better or at least be treated. Now, if you take that away, what does that say? What does that do? Right? That means that you can't get well, you can't get treated. Consequently, in many cases, you will die. So I have to ask folks to use their critical thinking skills and ask them, if you have a political party that wants to take away your health care, your ability to maintain your health, right? They want to take away your ability if you are old enough and qualified for a nursing home. They want you to basically be put out on the street. Now, I mean, what the hell does that tell you? Is that a good thing for the average American, especially at a time of constantly rising prices? Right? Why would you do that to your own citizens? Also, you want to take away the Department of Education, which helps schools, across all 50 states. And in a world that is now super competitive, why would you take away the weapon of education? I, I just, I really don't understand why people, especially working class people, why would you follow that? I just, it really befuddles me. I mean, even the slogans that Trump and MAGA and the Republican Party uses nowadays, woke. Okay, I'm a woke individual. I like to believe I am. What is wrong with being awake? The opposite of being woke or awoke is being asleep. So are Trump and MAGA and the Republicans saying that they want us to be asleep? Uh, it's very confusing. And this whole business about hunting immigrants, I said in the earlier broadcast that to me, it's reminiscent of the slave acts that were put out by Congress before the Civil War started, where you could make money for hunting down slaves and everything, along those lines. And it appears to me that this is the same type of thing that we are doing to Latino people. I don't understand why Latinos who are able to vote, what would make them vote for a guy that doesn't want them in the country. And he proved that because the day he went, right after he sat down behind that desk when he took over the presidency, he started sending out his stormtroopers to pick up Latinos. And see, this whole business about, oh, well, we're only looking for illegal people and criminal people. Look, about 90% of the people that they have been grabbing so far, they're not criminal, number one. And when you talk about legality, what are you saying? How legal or illegal are you talking about? Many of these people have green cards. Many of the people are here by invitation of the United States government. All right. So why are you taking away these people? Why are you raiding farms where you are kidnapping the people who grow my fruit and vegetables? I don't get this. All right. They obviously there's some type of ulterior motive. And one thing I do know, in certain right-wing nationalist circles, they don't like the idea of America being a world power. And I think what they're trying to do, they're trying to turn the United States into some small regional power, basically, with a big wall built around it. And I think that they have no problems in losing a large share of the population. Because when you figure, okay, they're trying to chase out all the Latinos, right? They are basically telling working class and especially rural whites, they're saying, hey, you don't count. You don't deserve to have a hospital closer than 20 miles from where you live, right? So, oh, and you definitely don't deserve to have a national weather system that can warn you in the event of natural disasters, as we see in Texas. I think the question needs to be asked, and I'll ask it again. Why would you do that? Now, so far, the people who have been suffering the worst under Trump's um, plans are his own voters, white, working class, and especially white rural voters. Now, I understand that you had a lot, many uh, Latinos that voted for Trump, and even a few blacks, and that's explain that can be explained. Racism has left a very heavy mark on the United States. We have to grow up and deal with that. And unfortunately, in the Latino community, there is a feeling brought about by this racism that, oh, well, I don't want to be caught voting along with American blacks. I want to show the dominant system that I'm better than they are, and I deserve to be in your special club. Unfortunately, what happened? Their membership application was rejected after November 5th. Even these are the people that have put it this way, have been most problematic uh, because they've had difficulties with Mexican Americans, they've had difficulty with Dominican Americans, they've had difficulty with Black Americans, and I refer to Cuban Americans. And quite frankly, I was shocked to see them being carted out of Miami by ICE. Um, and I, I felt tragic for them. I mean, I truly did. Number one, well, explain about myself. I'm born and raised in New York. Um, my mom was born and raised in the Old Dominion state of Virginia. My dad was born and raised in the Caribbean. He was born at St. Thomas, the Virgin Islands, the American Virgin Islands. Right? So he was a citizen, but he was still Caribbean. His dad was from the Dominican Republic, and his mother was from Haiti. So unfortunately, she passed away shortly after my dad was born. So for a time, my dad had to live with his father in the Dominican Republic. And so just by everybody on my dad's side of the family, Spanish speaking. Yeah, black folks speak in the Caribbean and South America. You have a whole zillions of black people that speak Spanish, right? Who are basically Latino, and that's one of the things that really pissed me off about Bill Maher because something about a play, and there was some controversy about the amount of dark or black Latinos in the mixture and back and forth. Not right now, it's not that big a deal. But what angered me about Marr, he has a tendency to talk about things that he doesn't know a damn thing about, and I'm really sorry for him because he used to be my favorite comedian, and favorite American comedian. For some reason, I guess he thought that he could. How should I say, boost his image up by jumping on the MAGA train. So now, most of the time when he, has guests, progressive guest, I would say. He kind of makes a fool out of himself, as far as I'm concerned. But this is the type of thing that's happened. Now, there's been a lot of comments about, oh, well, how come black folks ain't out there standing up? Well, listen, we did stand up. Kamala Harris stood up, right? Democrats, black and otherwise, stood up for you. But you didn't listen. You didn't want to listen. You laughed at us. I know I've spoken to Democrats who campaigned, especially outside of New York, especially in Florida and the Carolinas. People spat at them, uh, threw signs at them, said, get away, we're voting for Trump. Well, you see the result. I do believe that it's time for the NAACP, of whom I'm a member. I think it's time for them to get up off their ass and, get people out in the street protesting uh, about what's happening with this ICE thing. Uh, when I talk about a lack of leadership in America, I'm not just talking about in the white community. All right, we kind of have a lack of leadership in the black community and in the Latino community and in the Muslim slash Arab American community. I don't know what the hell happened in Detroit or Michigan. Those people felt that Donald Trump would give their relatives in Gaza a better shake than Kamala Harris would. I think that they see that they have been proven wrong in that assumption. But see, that's one of the terrible things that we have to face here in America. This racism, bigotry, it makes you stupid. Okay, I don't care if you're white, black, brown, red, yellow. It makes you stupid because it has you to make moves, right? That if you were really being the critical thinker, you would not make. Okay, I see what's happening with what the white working class, and it is. I'll be honest about. I left the Catholic Church in America shortly after I came off of active duty with the Navy. But I've never stopped being a spiritual person. I have never stopped believing in the message of the Sermon of the Mount that Jesus gave. Blessed are the poor, blessed are those who suffer for righteousness, etc. And what I see happening with white America is it is wrong, it is demonic, just as what's happening with the rest of people in this country is demonic. And I think that the only thing that will save America is the coming together. There are things that in the black community, which I'm a part of, that needs to be worked on. There are things in the Latino community that they themselves have to deal with. And there are things within the white community that they have to deal with. But putting all that on one level, the other level is that we have to come together, just like they teach you in the military, right? You have to be a team. And for America to succeed, it's going to have to be a team. And this business about, oh, well, we'll go ahead, we'll tolerate these black people over here. We'll tolerate these Hispanics over there. You know, that's not good. That doesn't cut it. Okay, but tolerating a person or a group of people means that, oh well, we're stuck with you. You know, um, just be over there, and we'll try to ignore you. That's what I mean. That's how I see it, right? What we have to recognize is the dignity of every human being, no matter what color they are, right? And until we start to do that, we're heading right down the toilet. There's just no two ways about it. And it makes it easy for would-be twisted maniacs, demagogues like Trump, to basically destroy us all, which is what he's doing. And we really need to, that's something that we really need to work on. Sometimes I wonder if it wasn't a good thing for Trump to get elected, or maybe he did steal the election. I don't know. I would not be surprised. I've been observing Trump since I was 13 years old, so anything he does, it ain't going to surprise me. But perhaps it's a good thing that he's there, because perhaps this is the creator, fate, whomever. Maybe they are giving us this 4-year period that we had to deal with this madness. Maybe the purpose of this period is to show us, yeah, this is your America. If you continue with your hate and your bickering and your foolishness, you will lose your country. I think maybe it had to happen because, for example, the wealth gap between rich and poor, we have allowed that to get so wide that something has to be done. Right? That's the reason why my man Mondami in New York, that's why he's doing so well in his quest to be New York City's first, um, you know, Muslim mayor, quite frankly, because people in this country are hurting. And this idea that you can just call him a commie, call him a red, it's not going to cut it. Things need to be done. You have people sleeping in the streets. You have children sleeping in cars and in shelters and on the street. You have veterans. I think about, what is it? I forget how many veterans commit suicide every day. But I do believe that almost half of the homeless people, half of the homeless males, and some females, the dogs out there, they might have a different opinion. But seriously, I know half the males out there who are homeless, just about half, are veterans. Think about that. And what does Trump do? He goes he goes to the federal government and he fires all the veterans. You know, I just I don't think that people, when they voted this last time, I'm sorry, I don't think that they really understood the stakes that are involved. America is rapidly becoming a pariah nation. We don't have to worry about how many non-registered immigrants we have in this country. We have to worry about people not wanting to come to America. You check out the airports lately. There is no bumper crop of tourists coming here to the United States anymore, thanks to Trump. The picture now of America is not the Statue of Liberty. It's some guy in a ice getup, right, with a mask and an automatic weapon. That has become the symbol of America around the world. How do I know this? I don't live in America right now. I'm in Kampala, Uganda, in like central Southern Africa. And this is kind of a crossroads. We have people from India, Arabia, Western Europe, especially a lot of Brits, and especially a lot of Chinese, right? And they see what's happening back there in the States. And I mean, people are like freaking and they're constantly asking, what the hell happened to you people back in the States? And I tell them our history of overt racism, sexism, um, religious well, how would you call it? Um, religious fanaticism. Trump managed to combine all that, and he basically used that to blind uh, a large section of the American people. And we've been going downhill ever since. I'm just trying to, I don't know, I'm just trying to get people to understand just what this this man and his movement, what they have done to the Republican Party, what they have done to America, and especially in the sense of our brand. America was never a perfect place, but we were at least becoming a place where we kept trying to improve ourselves, trying to move forward. And what Trump did, he basically, like I said, he came on the scene and he said, stop trying to better this American experiment. It's fine just the way it is. As a matter of fact, we need to take it back a bunch of notches, way past way past the New Deal. This guy is like in the 1890s. But the problem is the world is in 2025. And the things that you were able to pull in the 1890s, you can't pull in the modern world. And when you try, well, what's the old expression? In the black community in the South, there's an old expression: a hard head makes for a whipped ass. And that's the situation that this country is in. You don't have to take my word for it. Are people out there on food stamps, living on the street, tents on the streets of our major cities? And I think Americans have finally learned poverty is not just a black or brown face. Like I said, the people that voted for Trump, most of them are poor, working class suckers. But they fell for his like Nazi-like oratory, and now they're paying the price. And we have to realize that. And the Democratic Party needs to address that. And I agree with Obama that, sometimes you have to say things that might hurt feelings, might not be popular. But as long as you know that it's truth and you can prove it, you need to go out there and you need to say it. You're not always going to be popular, right? Jesus wasn't crucified because everybody thought he was popular, but he spoke truth and he got nailed to a cross because of it. I would hope that in this day and age here in America, that it doesn't have to get that drastic. But I'm just saying, let me use another analogy. Um, before the Civil War. There was an annoying group of people who were always accused of being so moral and constantly lecturing people and, finger pointing and finger waving and all that kind of crap, right? Guess who that was? They were abolitionists. And history proved that what they were saying was right. Mhm. Remember, when King was assassinated, when Martin Luther King was assassinated, he was not in America's fan club, right? I remember he was quite hated, okay? But people come to realize, yeah, hey, guy had a point. What progressives and Democrats have to do, they have to have the guts to fight for what's right. And it's a funny thing. It's just like when you were a kid, as I had to learn. You let the bully constantly smack you around and beat you up, you don't get no respect. See? But when you stand up to that bully and you show that, yeah, you wanna try to take me down? Well, we're gonna have to fight on that. And you wind up getting your ass kicked. I've had my ass kicked by the best, believe me. But I never, I think after I was 15, I never ran from a fight again. And I got respect for that. And see, I think the Democrats have forgotten that lesson. Not all of us. We have some good fighters out there. But unfortunately, as far as mainstream Democrats, no. They don't show that they have that fire in the belly. And that's what they need to do. Because these are difficult, dangerous times. And only the strong are going to survive them. And I think that's what we need to show our base. That's what Democrats need to do. They need to show the base. Yeah, I'm out there. I'm going to fight for you. See, one of the things I like about Mondami, and I think that the Democratic Party, we need to pay attention to this young man. When asked, once you become mayor, where are you going to go? So I ain't going nowhere. I'll be mayor of New York, and we got work to do here. Boom. Period. End of story. And that's the attitude that the Democratic Party has to adopt. Quite frankly, the only thing at this point in time, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, but I think at this point in time, group, the only organized political group that's going to save this country from going the way of a failed fascist state is the Democratic Party. And it's not going to be easy. And as we can see with the delusional way that Donald Trump is behaving, some of us, some of us might even wind up getting hurt. I know I plan to come back for the elections, especially for the biggie in 28. And I worry about that. I truly do. Especially now I'm getting ready to get married again. And, I'm really starting to enjoy my life. But I think democracy is worth making some sacrifices. I took an oath. As a matter of fact, I took the oath a couple of times as a teenager, as a very young man, and as a guy going into middle age. That swore to defend, uphold the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's the only allegiance that my kids, uh, my soon-to-be wife, and my conscience, and of course the Constitution. Those are the only oaths. Those are the only obligations that I owe. See, and that's another dangerous thing with this guy Trump, because he wants people to be loyal to him. And government service, that's not the name of the game. The name of the game is, and I would say this especially to our young men and women in the military. Hey, you took an oath to the Constitution, not to any president, Republican or Democrat. And I hope that you will always bear that in mind as we go through these very tumultuous times. That's the law. That's how this country was formed, upon the Constitution. That's the name of the game. So I just hope that yeah, you folks in the military, I hope you have the intestinal fortitude to remember that and to live by it. And let me see any other. Oh, one other point, and I find this to be very disturbing. You have people, and some of them black, some of them Latino. I mean, people like what's his name, Stephen Smith. Um, God, he really puts a screw in my leg. I tell you. Uh, this guy was a sports announcer. I guess he still is for ESPN, and he loves to shoot his mouth off. He's kind of like Bill Maher. He loves to shoot his mouth off about things he doesn't know a damn thing about. Foreign policy, you know, I think it's crazy. I think it's ridiculous. Brian Donalds, Tim Scott, people of that ilk. Now, I would like to ask these people who, and they've come out and supported Donald Trump. And I'm saying, why would you, as a Black American, why would you support a man that goes to the Pentagon, to the halls of the Pentagon, and tears down the pictures of Black war heroes and renames forts and naval vessels after people who betrayed their oath to the Constitution, and take away the names of people, Black, women, who fought to defend the Constitution? Why would you support an administration that does that? I think that you need to be watched. If I was a white working class person, I would look very suspiciously at uh, Stephen Smith or Tim Scott or Brian Donald, because as a white man, as a patriotic white man, I would say, why are these Black men supporting this white man who I know he has that racist bug in him, and they support this guy who tears down these, in this case, Black heroes who fought to defend the flag I love. If I were a white working class guy, that would really puzzle the hell out of me. I mean, seriously, I don't think anybody had looked at these kind of people, uh, Smith, Scott, and the other weird guy from Florida. I don't think anybody has looked at them from that angle. This is what you're supporting. I mean, do you have that little respect for yourself? And if I was a white working class guy, that would make me very curious. And I would be, I think even Al Capone said one time, he couldn't trust a man that had no respect for himself and who he was. And if I was a working class guy, that's what I would. If I was a white working class guy, that's what I would be thinking. If I was a true patriotic white working class guy, I would ask, why are these black men supporting an administration that tears down patriotic American black heroes, just tearing their pictures down? Why would why would the black guy support that? And as a patriotic white working class guy, that would make me very suspicious. As far as a member of the black community, I think that we should remember that and perhaps work to find ourselves some better leaders, quite frankly. See, the bottom line is that we're all here in this boat called America together, and that we have to work together. We have to figure it out somehow. Or the king said, either we're going to learn how to work together or we're going to die like fools killing each other. And especially for those of us that have children and grandchildren, I think it would be better to learn how to work together. Listen, it's getting late, very late, and I'm going to try and get some sleep, quite frankly. The the things at home, going on back home, really, I knew it was going to get bad. I didn't know it was going to get this bad this soon. I really didn't. Um, to tell you quite frankly, if I hadn't met my lady, I don't think I would have came over here as quick as I did. But I'm glad I did because she gives me balance. You know, God knows I needed it, but she gives me balance, and it's interesting to be with someone not from America, but who observed uh, what happens in America and to get their perspective. And see, that's something else that really tears me up inside because of the fact that people don't have the respect that they used to have for the United States. Now, I don't like to call myself an expert, but I am extremely familiar with how people outside of America feel or felt, well, felt and feel about America because I was doing the travel thing since I was 17. And first time I went in the service, I wound up being part of the NATO forces in what was then West Germany, defending Western Europe from a Russian onslaught. So I had a chance to travel in Germany, Luxembourg, Belgium, France. Um, did I go to Spain at that time? No, I didn't hit Spain. Austria. So I had a pretty good introduction into how people from other countries felt towards America. And then after I came home, went to college for a while, went back in the service, I joined the Navy. Oh man, I really got an education. You know, I found out how people in the Middle East feel towards the United States. I had a funny, and not funny, but an interesting thing happen. Myself and a buddy who happened to be black. I think I was on the Nimitz, um, my first aircraft carrier. This is before I got top secret clearance, and worked in the White House and the Pentagon and everything. And where the hell were we? Not Tel Aviv. Was it Jeddah? No, it wasn't Jeddah. That was in Saudi Arabia. We was at that port in Israel. Oh God, what? Oh, don't tell me old age is really starting to play with me now. Come on, now was it? Well, we did go to visit Tel Aviv, um, and we saw Gaza, or what they call the West Bank. But Haifa, yeah, it was at Haifa, Israel, and me and my man Doug, we just started walking. We was in our dress blues, right? And we just started walking through Haifa, and we wound up coming into I guess, like the Arab section, the Muslim section, um, and we walking by this like little, not cafe, but like a little like coffee house, and they had like guys sitting out there at tables, sipping coffee, sipping tea. And as we're walking by, the proprietor runs out to us. And he literally grabbed us, man. He grabbed us like we were long lost relatives, what have you. He said, come, brothers, sit. So, go over to the table, sit down. And he said, what would you like? And I said, I thought I like some tea, right? And I had tea. My man had coffee. And he said, no charge, no charge, right? And so we're sitting there. And this other, um, I guess what Arab Israeli dude, right? He comes and he's just, sits down at our table and we start talking. And he says, "Oh, so you American Navy?" I said, "Yeah, yeah." And he goes into this thing about how wonderful he thinks America is. But he said he has a problem with our foreign policy because he said you guys always seem to support Israel, and then you get angry when Arabs start, you know, fighting and attacking and rioting and what have you. And I said something really dumb. I said, well, violence is never a good thing. And he says, well, listen, you have to remember these people, even your own United Nations says that they have been done wrong. But they don't have aircraft carriers. They don't have the U.S. Marine. All they have is the shirt on their back, their flesh and blood, and that's it. And he says, what you all call terrorism, he said, unfortunately, many times that's people fighting because they have nothing else to fight with. And that was deep. That was deep. But it was like he had so much respect and awe for America. But in his mind, he recognized the fact that America was not perfect, that we make mistakes. Yeah. And I guess what's changed now is that whereas before people recognized America as being a great country, working its way to being a more perfect union, now people see America as just a place gone mad. And that hurts. And I think you'll find that attitude if you're talking to Brits, if you're talking to Arabs, if you're talking to Indians, if you're talking to, especially if you're talking to Spanish or Irish people, you know, and definitely if you are talking to African people. And that hurts. So this thing that we're going through in America, the world is watching. I can tell you that. The world is definitely watching to see how everything is going to turn out. And believe it or not, most of the world, they're pulling for us. They truly are. But I guess they're just waiting to see what happens and praying for the best. And it's up to us, Americans, to get back to work for that more perfect union. And I honestly believe the only way that's going to happen, black, white, Asian, Latino, indigenous people, all of us, we're going to have to pull together. Just that simple. Listen, as I said, I'm getting tired and I've been worrying too much. As you can probably see, I mean, I ain't no beauty on on my best day, but I know I'm looking real raggedy. I've been up late at nights since I really for the last couple of weeks watching the antics of Trump and company and what have you. But listen, we gotta hang in there. Okay, bless you. Take care of yourself. Look out for each other. If you see me on YouTube, I appreciate it if you give me a like. Um, and make sure you take care of each other and stay involved. I mean, that's the best I can say right now. And hopefully, we hold hands, take the jump, and we'll get through this. Listen, take care. Have a good night. Peace.